So I'm James. This is my Ethereum File System project, which I'll be referring to as EFS from now on. A little bit about me. I worked for over a decade at Epic, which is a large medical software company in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a pretty cool place. Disney engineers designed the campus. Great to take a tour one day. I am from the crypto class of 2017. So fun fact, I used my Christmas bonus to buy Bitcoin on December 27th, 2017, which is a few days before everything crashed. So I was forged in the bear market, and I really am here for the tech. So when I put my hands on the wall at Epic, I drew a little Ethereum symbol to show my passion, and I shortly thereafter left to build Web3, and here I am. So if you enjoy talking about things like this, let me know afterwards, and I'd love to go down the rabbit hole. So the internet that we have today has some problems. It is very corporate. It's not fun. There's a whole bunch of walled gardens. You are the product. But I am old enough that I remember an internet that was a lot more fun. It was community driven. There were websites like GeoCities that let you build your own website, like for your recipes, about aliens with a little construction GIF at the bottom. And there were things like MySpace where you have your own little space to show off your top 8 friends, what you made, your favorite music plays in the background. All of these websites are gone now. The corporations have closed, or they've been monetized and the APIs don't exist anymore. And in the case of MySpace, we've lost 50 million songs that are literally gone. There's no record of them on the internet anywhere. So that is culture that is gone forever. And that is a big problem. So we need a better web. And things like EFS, Ethereum, blockchains, decentralization allow us to build a more durable web. So Ethereum, I hope everybody in this room knows this, is that Ethereum will outlast us. It's built to last 1,000 years. Data will be there, it's reliable, and you can have a foundation for building a community that you can trust. And that's something we need if we're gonna build something that outlasts all of us. So how does this better web work? Well, if you aren't technical, I have a diagram here. There's a few key parts of the internet that you need to know. Like if you type in google.com, the domain name service tells you where to find that Google web server. So you're asking for a specific server, you talk to it with HTTP, you tell it, I want this content, it gives it back to you from the web server, but you have to trust that Google's giving you the right thing. There's no way to verify that. In Web3, we have decentralized versions of things like ENS, Ethereum name system. You can go to jamescarnley.eth, and that is my ETH address. You don't have to memorize the numbers and remember all of that stuff. It's easy. Ethereum File System brings the web into blockchains, and IPFS allows you to ask for the Ethereum white paper, and anybody in the world that has a copy will give it to you. So if one person goes down, you don't have to worry about it. So these are properties that keep the web durable and open. It is decentralized. The other important properties are you need to be permissionless. Anybody should be able to use these tools no matter what. It needs to be credibly neutral. So that means nobody owns it. It's a neutral ground that everybody, even enemies, can come and use together because nobody has the upper hand. And it needs to be unstoppable. Nobody can take it down. I can't take EFS down. After I launch it, it is launched forever. Even I can't turn it off. And it needs to be verifiable. So if somebody makes a file or says something, you need to be able to know that this is what they said, this is the context it was said in. So if somebody takes it out of context or lies, you can verify that this data is real. And we also need to build these tools in an open source manner so everybody works on it together and as a public good so everybody can use it freely, and where you're not the product, you are the benefactor of the technology. So we can do all this. This is what Web3 is. And EFS helps bring this into existence. So how do we do this? Our big superpower is crowdsourcing. Everybody knows some of the big ones like Wikipedia came together to bring all of human knowledge together in one place. Sci-Hub brings all of the research papers and experiments into one repository. And the Internet Archive does back up the internet, but it doesn't do a great job because, for example, it was sued by corporations, and there's 500,000 books that are not archived at all. And we just have to hope somebody else backed them up. So it's not a full archive. You don't know what's actually missing. So these are great crowdsourcing systems. They're very powerful. We love them, but they have big drawbacks. EFS provides a home for crowdsourced data to live where it can live forever, and there's no politics. It can just be data that we use, and I think that's a great thing. So what actually is EFS technologically wise? It is an organization system. It's an index. So how do you find things? So the blockchain is a CPU. It runs smart contracts. You know it's going to run correctly. You can trust it. And IPFS is a hard drive. You can put a movie on it and it'll be there forever. Or if one person has a copy of the file, it will be available to you. EFS is in the middle. It lets you know that here is a list of images. Here's a list of memes. And on IPFS, this is the link. So it is an index that is on-chain. It is shared. The shared namespace is actually something that EFS is kind of unique. We have, in the next slide I'll show it off, but we have one namespace that we all share, so it's easy to discover information. Since we're sharing the namespace, lenses are a way to only see information from the people you want to see it from. And because this is a graph database, data scientists can take this knowledge that we are all putting together and put it into an off-chain database and use all kinds of queries against it and learn things. And it also has a trustless web client, so you can use the blockchain easily instead of the kind of clunky methods we use today. So this topics are what I call paths. So this path is pizza/deep dish. This is a topic that we are all talking about, and we all have opinions on this topic. Like, what's the best deep dish in Chicago? If you ask for JamesCarnley.eats lens, it's Pequod's. Vitalik and Pizza Dal have different, answers with Giordano's or Pizzeria Uno. Every single person in this room can have their answer to that question of what should deep dish be if you're going to show it to somebody, which means we can all share this path together. So anybody can publish something, but you don't have to see it. You see who you want to. And there's two kinds of data on EFS. There's properties, which are little values that you can use to run applications, and they're on-chain. And then there's files like images, videos, PDFs. Those are mostly off-chain and made for humans and agents. They serve two different purposes, but properties are important, especially if you're talking about Ethereum, which has smart contracts. So this is an example that's near and dear to my heart. So if you have an HVAC system, like if you have a Google Nest AC, you can tell it to set it to 68 on your phone, and your Nest will set the temperature to 68 and it'll work. It uses Google servers to do that. Your phone talks to Google server, your Nest talks to Google server. If that server goes down, or like they did last year, they drop support for Nest V1 devices, those devices are effectively bricked, and they just end up in a landfill, which is not good for anybody. If your HVAC system was using the blockchain as a backend, and you set this path, device HVAC temperature to 68, your Nest would read 68, set itself, and because it's on a blockchain, that will never get turned off. It'll work forever. So your device will work until the hardware itself breaks, which I think is good for the environment, good for IoT devices, good for the planet. And this is also good for things like DAOs. So if you wanted a setting where the DAO votes to set this, multiple contracts from other developers can all read the same setting and act on it. So if you wanted to build composable software that all works together, you would use paths and values just like your computer does today. So this is how we're going to build the hyperstructures on Ethereum that we keep talking about. And the other side is files, images, PDFs, things like that. A file is a hash, and a hash is essentially the identity of a file. So if you have an image and you change one pixel in that image, the whole hash changes. So you have the hash, and then you have where on the internet it is. It's on IPFS, Arweave, or the web. It doesn't really matter. You can find that file. So these could be on-chain, or they can be off-chain. But properties are always on-chain. That's the big difference. So we can do fun stuff and real config. So this is an early screenshot of the web client for EFS. The way EFS is set up is that EFS is a public good, credibly neutral. Anybody can add data, but the web client is what displays the data. You get to choose what you see. You get to choose who you see data from and what kind of data you want to see. So there's lenses, there's tags, there's all kinds of stuff you know from your file system today that you can apply to these files that are on a blockchain, the world computer. All right, I'm going to give a little demo. Hopefully this works. Let's see. All right, so this is running on my laptop right now. It's a little hard to see. I wonder if I can zoom in. Maybe not. So here, I've added a few files here. So if you wanted to see this image of a cat, this is my cat Ember. This is on the blockchain today, or it's on my blockchain right now. And this file will be here for as long as the blockchain exists. If you wanted to, you can add it on IPFS. You can add, PDFs of like the Bitcoin white paper, the Cypherpunk manifesto, which I really wish you would all read. It is why we are here. This was written in 1994 and is the reason Bitcoin and Ethereum exist. So these are all files that you can add to the chain. If I wanted to add a new one, I can add a file that's already existing on IPFS or just upload a new one. So let me pick something. I'm in the wrong folder. That's okay. I'm going to add the Ethereum File System logo. It does take 2 or 3 transactions to add the file, and then it is right here for everybody to see. There are also filters. So by default, I have this not safe for work filter turned on. If I turn this off, there is one not safe for work picture here that I probably shouldn't show everybody. So if you do not want to see that raunchiness, you just turn this right back on. But you could also actually just show, oops, I messed up. You could actually you could have a Vitalik dick pic party and just show the not safe for work files. So these filters are tags and they work just like you'd expect, and you can use them to search or filter. The example on the other side, the pizza example, is right here. So I am logged in as James. You can see that I like Pequod's, and if you look at this image, it is of this Pequod's pizza. And if I wanted to actually go on here and get Vitalik's address and go up here to lenses, I can say, I just want to see what Vitalik wants, what files Vitalik has and his addition of the files. So Giordano's and If we go here, you can see his version of the image. So it's the same path. It is pizza deep dish, but we have two different versions of the file. And as a developer, when I'm developing software, you develop against a path, and whatever's at that path you read. So it can do some cool stuff, but you know, it is pretty simple. You just choose to see that person's file instead of your own. Sure.
Sorry, there's like two versions of the file, so then how do you know what's original, and then how do you know, like, is there like, yeah, I don't know, like, how do you know which one's original, and like, which one, how, like, is there like chunking that you kind of see like how it differed from the previous one?
Well, the first part of the question, I don't think there is an original version of the file because the path is shared, so nobody really owns the path. So I added my image first, and then Vitalik added his second, but they're both equally valid. If you were to click this button, you can see all the people that added a file. So you can see who added images to Deep Dish and see the like 12 entries and pick one.
I guess like images, like, so if you had like a TXT file, and I published it first, like the Cypherpunk manifesto, and then Anne-Marie changed it. Is there some tracking of like how this file has evolved or anything?
Not right now, no. It is actually a completely separate file. But that is something that it's in my designs to have a wiki-like system that tracks, or like, you know, a Git type system that tracks changes to files. But right now it's two separate images and you're just choosing which one to see. And this is too much detail, but this lenses system is actually hierarchical. So you are on top, the person you want to see is second, the person who's managing your configuration and like your operating system, like Ubuntu, would be third, and then EFS has system defaults fourth. So there is a, you know, whoever has data first wins. So this is a system that does a lot of work, and there's a lot of detail that I don't want to really bore you with, but it is a little cool. And yeah, this does work today. There's a lot of stuff that I'm working on and fixing. So yeah, let me see. Yes, sure.
Is this kind of like similar to Sriracha? Like, is it, like, can you use this like you can, is this kind of like a middle layer? I guess I'm not sure, like, how does this relate to IPFS?
IPFS stores files. So it's a list of images and PDFs and movies in the cloud. Yeah. But this is an index to find those files. So it's like, if you have a list of memes, it's going to have 10 files, and then you can point out to IPFS to get it. If you went to IPFS directly, you'd have to know what you're looking for. This is kind of a discovery service. You go to a folder to see a list of files that you can browse through.
And then how's it like different from Sriracha?
I'm not sure. I don't know what Sriracha is.
I was just curious.
I will find out. It is a middleman, but it's a credibly neutral middleman. For like right now, the backend, this is running on my personal blockchain. It can be Ethereum L1, it can be Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, any Ethereum EVM chain. So all of these files, except for this one, are stored on the blockchain. So so right down here, you can see like mirrors. So if you wanted to have an on-chain file, and you can add an IPFS file and an Arweave file. So the files can be stored in multiple places. And I'm actually, Arweave is the most reliable. So it's going to go Arweave and then IPFS and then everything else. Well, onchain is most reliable, but it's expensive. So most big things are going to be on IPFS or Arweave.
This is perfect for NFT projects where you have like so many different storages and
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so question on that. When that folder there that's shown there, so
Yes.
being that everyone is adding their information on what types of pizza here or whatever the topic is, how does that folder kind of come about? Like, are those folders just in existence there? Are they based on an index, or how are those folders?
I mean, anybody can create a folder.
Okay.
So if you create a folder and then add a file.
Blockchain, and then you make it visible to everyone in that chain?
When you create this new Web3 Weekends folder, it is an anchor, and there's only one. Everybody shares it.
Okay.
But technically, you won't see it unless you want to see it or you've added a folder or file inside.
Okay.
So if you've added content inside, it shows up on your view. So if I switch users, oh, I actually cheated for the demo because when my James Carnley user makes something, everybody sees it. But if somebody else makes something, like if Hal Finney, who invented Bitcoin, creates a folder, and then I go back to James Carnley, that folder doesn't show up.
Okay.
But I can go to that folder just by saying test. And if I add like a little file, okay, this is, if I add a file here and then go back, I now see that folder because I have data in it.
Okay.
So there's going to be hundreds of folders everybody's sharing.
Yeah.
We just filter it down to only what you should see.
Okay.
And if you want to, you can always like change your lenses to see who created this folder, and it'll pop in your list. Yeah, any more questions on this little demo? Sure.
It's question time. Yeah. What do you see as being like the applications you would want to have like built on top of this?
Oh, that is in a few. I have a slide for that. And there, so right now, whenever you go to, for example, pizza, it shows you files. So very quickly, I'm going to add like a little pane here that has a markdown file inside, like Wikipedia, that says, okay, this is pizza. What is the definition of pizza? Everybody can add data there. You can click links to other topics. You can add photos inside. So it turns into a little wiki we can all share, in addition to the files. And yeah, a few other cool things like comments on the files and everything else. And then also, if you look at over here, every Ethereum dress is a user. If you were to go to my profile, I do have an image that is only on me. So if you type in jamescarnley.eth, you can see my suit, which was designed by Kat and CJ. They did a fucking awesome job.
But like,
So, yeah,
so like this is one application, but like, what do you see as like the next thing being?
Well, yeah. Let me just go to that slide. Okay. All right. So I do want to build fun things on this, and other people can build things too. Whether or not they do that's why I'm doing this presentation. But well, the next step is deploying this to Sepolia, so it's on a test net and the data is durable. Right now it's on my Raspberry Pi at home, and it is slow and will be reset every week. So once it is set in stone, I kind of demoed the user profiles and sharing, so making a little Web3 MySpace I think would be very cool. Something that you can express yourself with and it won't be taken away from you. I miss my MySpace page dearly. And There was something really fun on the old internet called Usenet, which was essentially just a big Reddit. Just science and then science.physics and all kinds of threads with people replying to each other. It was glorious. We can bring that back. So you go to a topic like pizza or deep dish, and here's everybody talking about deep dish, and you can just join in and write some comments. And I talked about the Markdown wiki, and we can build things that need a home. The white papers for all the cryptocurrencies are something that should just be in /white papers, and you just see a list of all the white papers, you click them and read them. That should just exist. Recipe websites are awful. They have lots of ads, they're hard to use. Just putting recipes on this thing seems like a good idea. Memes, game mods, all kinds of like community data sets. It would be fun to build. So that's what I will be doing over the summer. Sure.
Question. So at one point you mentioned like you have your layers where it's like yourself and then maybe someone else, and then you said your operating system itself.
Yeah.
You have its own layer. So when you say like Ethereum file system, is this like NFS, where it's like network file system? It's like an actual like implementation of like a file system that like that can be used in like an application. Is this something that's like implementing like the file system broad like protocol? Is this something where I could like make this a backend for an application like right now, or would I have to go and like make something specifically for EFS?
You would have to make an adapter for EFS, and that is totally possible. It is not something I really want to do, but if you wanted to, like, in a Mac you have Dropbox and Google Drive, you can add EFS to it, and that would totally work. It probably would not be a smart idea because it would be expensive, but you could do it. And since I did just mention that, like, adding an IPFS file to EFS on like something like Base costs less than 2 cents.
Yeah.
Adding a little 300 kilobyte file on Base or Arbitrum costs $1. So it's not, not free, but Ethereum, well, we are making things cheaper with like a Moore's Law graph going down. So eventually putting images and movies on chain, totally possible.
I would add like maybe doing a small NFT portfolio.
And if
Using EFS.
take on OpenSea.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be like a one-day project, right? Like
Right.
you just connect it because it's easier with an NFT because you have the Ethereum layer built in. You wouldn't have to do a smart contract, right? Or
Yes,
you wouldn't have to do a
and
smart contract. It would just all be built in. Like you just call your thing and then I don't know.
I did leave out a ton of technical details, but there's like in the client, you can actually open a contract and see, like there are like ERC20s and then ERC1155s and all of these things where we know how to list the NFTs. So if you go to a contract, which is the same as, jamescarnley.eth is an address, is a contract, they're equivalent, you can see the NFTs created by that contract.
But the contract is not like, it's not baked into this technology. It's like you would have to do it separately.
The client has to know, if you're looking at the contract, how to read an ERC 1155. But that is not super hard.
Yeah.
And then when you browse to it, it would show the NFTs like files.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything structured like that, yeah, totally would work. All right, so I'll just spend a minute on this. Long term, I am designing the client to act like an operating system, and it is something that I am excited about, and I know it's very far-fetched, very pie in the sky, but it is, the kernel keeps your secrets like your wallet, the shell does all of the UI, and there are apps that literally anybody can make, and you can open, and you can have an image gallery, you can have a game that reads save games through EFS, just apps that are in an open app store that it's credibly neutral, nobody owns it, and then you see the apps that are trusted by you and your web of trust. So having this operating system that's on the web where you don't have to install anything. It just works. It is private, it is secure, and it is, I don't want to say it, it's linkable. Somebody smart can do the work. You just click a hyperlink and it is in your browser and you're playing a game. So this web operating system is something I'm working on and I think will be kind of cool. And so if any of this sounded interesting or fun, or you just have an idea, I would love to work with you. I think this is cool. It is going to be an interesting design space. And as you saw from my demo, I'm a programmer. I need design help. I need, people skills. That would be nice. So if you have any of those things and you think this is cool, come talk to me. It'd be really cool. It'd be fun. Yeah, thank you very much.
Elliot, is there any questions for James before we kind of move forward? Yeah.
I wonder, maybe explain what's the features that differentiate the EFS from Filecoin?
Filecoin is IPFS basically. It is making sure IPFS files are pinned. So you're just paying Filecoin to keep them pinned. It doesn't have a website that you can go and see a list of files on Filecoin. It is just making IPFS better, and IPFS is just, if you ask me for a file, I'll give it to you, but you have to know what you're looking for first. IPFS gives you a list so you can browse and click and find things.
Like on a scale like 1 to 10, how difficult would it be to teach someone those MySpace-like aspects of this, like so that they could use it in a less functional way than, or less technical way than, like it was just something more consumer-facing, simple.
That is a design problem, and so I have my ideas on when you go to jamescounty.eth, which is when I'm going to my page, there are little, in the top right, little things saying like add background music, change the background, things that are easy, and you can say, hey, I want to change my background. You click, provide a file, and it changes. So it's just surfacing the options you have and letting you.
So there's some learning curve, but it seems like it's approachable. It's not overly technical.
I don't think so. MySpace did it like a decade and a half ago. We can do it now.
Anybody else? Set. Oh, actually, one question. When you're doing this, are you referring gas fees, or what's your cost structure to get this up, or what's the upload into file?
When you're looking at data, it's completely free. It's just a website you go to, and it's using the same RPCs. Like when you go to Uniswap and it just works, EFS will just work. If you add a file, you have to pay gas for that. And so if you're adding a file via IPFS, it costs a few cents. If you're adding a file on chain, it can be up to $1 for some sizable files, but you are the one paying to upload the file to the chain. Everybody else can see the file for free.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on private files?
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
So EFS does not have privacy. The only thing that, there are two things that we are going to for having apps like EFS have privacy. One, there is Aztec, which is a private L2 that has privacy baked in. So if you deploy EFS to Aztec, you will have privacy baked in. If you encrypt your files before you upload them, that will also work, but it is not something that my UI makes easy, but it is technically possible. And there are things like FileVerse that make that a lot easier. So privacy is going to be a little difficult, but that's a problem for everybody. We're all solving. Sure.
And to add to that, like, what about the bad actors that want to post about relevant topics other than the ones that you're talking about building a community, the ones that want to
Yeah.
break the community or do anything along those lines? How would we manage that?
It is permissionless, so anybody can upload anything. and you can't make them stop, but you do get to choose what you want to see. So the first line of defense is your lenses. So you are seeing files from people that you follow and know. And I keep saying web of trust, but one of the primary mechanisms for this is like there's the Ethereum follow protocol, which is basically a friend network. So you follow Vitalik and all these, you follow 10 people, you have your friends list. That's going to be your default lenses that you see files from. And so you wouldn't see it from this bad actor. And you can take it one more as like friends of friends, but it would never be everybody unless you wanted to see everybody. And then you would see all the bad content. So you have the option of viewing it, but by default you won't.
Hell yeah.
I knew that was going to come up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Give another round of applause.
Thank you.